It was a quiet morning in Dale, Indiana, a town where neighbors still recognized each other on the streets. But behind the calm, a case had been lingering for more than 2 decades, one that had left a deep mark on the community. On October 10, 2025, Roy Lee Ward, a man convicted of a crime that shocked the state, was executed. The events leading to this moment spanned years of investigation, trials, and appeals, revealing both the complexity of the legal system and the long shadow cast by a single act. Questions remained: how did this crime unfold? What did investigators uncover? And how does a town cope with the weight of such a past? If you value knowing the truth behind cases like this, you need to subscribe now. Don't let history repeat itself while you sit on the sidelines. If you don't subscribe, pause for a moment, ask yourself why you would ignore the lessons these stories hold. This is a story that goes beyond headlines. It is about justice, investigation, and the consequences that ripple through every life involved. Don't just watch, subscribe, because some truths are too important to be left unnoticed. And if you're not subscribing, drop a comment explaining why you chose to miss the full story. Stacy Payne was 15 years old when her life was tragically taken from her. She lived in Dale, Indiana, a close-knit town where everyone knew each other. Stacy was an active student, involved in her school's band and cheerleading team, and worked part-time at a local pizzeria. Friends described her as responsible, caring, and deeply connected to her community. On the day of the crime in 2001, Stacy went about her usual routine, unaware that her path would intersect with Roy Lee Ward, a man who had a troubled past and a history of criminal behavior. That encounter would set in motion an investigation that spanned years, leaving the town searching for answers and the family grappling with a loss that would never fade. Authorities quickly mobilized to gather evidence and piece together what had happened. Interviews with witnesses and initial forensic work provided critical information, shaping the trajectory of the investigation. Every lead was followed meticulously, as law enforcement sought to understand not just the events of that day, but the motives and decisions that led to such a devastating act. If you want to know the full story and see how justice unfolded, subscribe now. Don't let the truth slip by unnoticed. If you're not subscribing, leave a comment explaining why you're ignoring this investigation. Roy Lee Ward had a history that drew attention long before the events of 2001. Born and raised in Indiana, he had multiple encounters with law enforcement as a young adult. Reports indicate he struggled with personal and behavioral challenges, and over time, these issues escalated into criminal activity that eventually brought him into the legal system. Ward's criminal record included convictions for property crimes and prior offenses that reflected a pattern of risky behavior. By the time the investigation into Stacy Payne's case began, law enforcement already recognized him as someone capable of serious offenses, making him a key focus early in the inquiry. During legal proceedings, Ward faced numerous challenges to the charges and the sentence. Defense attorneys raised questions about his background, his behavior patterns, and later, his neurodevelopmental diagnosis, which became a point of discussion during clemency appeals. Attorney David Frank, representing Ward in earlier proceedings, argued that his client's circumstances required careful consideration within the justice system. For viewers who follow cases like this closely, subscribing ensures you don't miss any updates on the legal processes and insights into how the justice system addresses complex profiles like Ward's. And if you're hesitating, leave a comment explaining why you're choosing to miss this analysis. Multiple reports state that Ward attacked the girl with a knife and dumbbell, inflicted 18 blunt force injuries, and that the victim suffered serious lacerations. First responders and medical witnesses reportedly described the wound's severity and trauma, including statements that the injuries left the girl unable to speak. Court documents confirm the nature of the injuries and also note multiple aggravating factors: rape, deviant conduct, torture while victim alive, under which death penalty was sought. Following the discovery of the crime, law enforcement in Dale, Indiana, launched a thorough investigation that would define the course of the case. Officers began by securing the scene and interviewing neighbors, classmates, and community members who had last seen Stacy Payne. Their goal was to reconstruct the timeline leading up to the incident and identify potential witnesses or leads. Detectives quickly focused on Roy Lee Ward due to his proximity, previous criminal record, and reports of suspicious behavior at the time. Investigators gathered evidence meticulously, analyzing statements, documents, and available records that would later become crucial during the trial. Forensic teams supported this work, documenting physical evidence and cross-referencing findings to create a clear chain of events. Interviews with family members, school associates, and acquaintances provided insight into both the victims' and the perpetrators' routines, helping authorities to understand the context in which the crime occurred. Every detail was scrutinized, dates, interactions, and anomalies were logged and compared against established facts. This methodical work eventually led to charges being filed against Ward. The careful collection and evaluation of evidence established a comprehensive record that would support legal proceedings, while also ensuring that the investigation maintained integrity, transparency, and adherence to legal standards. If you want to follow every step of how law enforcement builds a case from the ground up, subscribe now. And if you're not subscribing, leave a comment explaining why you're letting key truths pass by. After charges were filed, Roy Lee Ward's case moved to the courtroom, where legal proceedings would extend over several years. The prosecution presented the evidence collected during the investigation, emphasizing the thoroughness of the work conducted by law enforcement. Witness testimonies, documents, and records formed the backbone of the case, providing a structured timeline of events that supported the charges. Ward's defense challenged aspects of the investigation and questioned certain procedural elements. His attorneys raised concerns about his past, behavioral history, and neurodevelopmental diagnosis, arguing that these factors warranted careful consideration during sentencing. The court examined these claims closely while balancing them against the severity of the charges and the evidence presented. Throughout the trial, the judge ensured that legal protocols were followed, while the jury reviewed the testimony and material evidence meticulously. The deliberations took into account not only the facts of the case but also the procedural integrity of the investigation, ensuring that the verdict reflected a fair legal assessment. Following the conviction, Ward pursued multiple appeals and legal challenges. His team submitted requests for review, including petitions for clemency, emphasizing personal circumstances and rehabilitation efforts during his time in prison. Each appeal was evaluated within the state's legal framework, demonstrating the careful balance between justice, due process, and societal expectations. For viewers who want to understand how the legal system manages complex cases, subscribing now ensures you don't miss detailed insights into every step of the process. If you choose not to subscribe, comment why you are letting these crucial lessons pass. On the morning of October 10, 2025, Roy Lee Ward was executed in Indiana after exhausting all appeals and legal challenges. This marked a significant moment, as Ward became the third person executed in the state since the moratorium on executions was lifted the previous year. The legal process had been long and meticulously observed, highlighting the checks and balances within the justice system. Ward's final statement was submitted and shared publicly. He expressed remorse and acknowledged the suffering caused to Stacy Payne's family. While the statement did not include graphic details, it reflected a recognition of the consequences of his actions and a request for understanding from the families affected. The execution was carried out under state protocols and with legal oversight. Officials ensured that all procedures were observed in accordance with Indiana law, maintaining transparency while safeguarding privacy and dignity. This portion of the case emphasizes the importance of the legal system in balancing accountability, justice, and procedural integrity. It also offers a broader lesson: communities, families, and authorities are all affected by crime and must work toward prevention, support for victims' families, and ensuring justice is fairly administered. For viewers seeking to understand the impact of the justice system and the responsibilities it carries, subscribing ensures you follow the full exploration of such cases. If you choose not to subscribe, leave a comment reflecting on why accountability matters to you. The impact of Roy Lee Ward's case extends far beyond the courtroom. Stacy Payne's family continues to live with the emotional aftermath, navigating life after a tragedy that reshaped their community. Local authorities and support organizations have emphasized the importance of resources for families affected by violent crimes, highlighting counseling, community support, and legal guidance as essential tools in recovery. In Indiana, the case also prompted discussions about the justice system, the application of capital punishment, and the transparency of execution protocols. Lawmakers, legal experts, and advocacy groups have examined how procedural oversight, appeals, and clemency petitions intersect with public accountability. The dialogue extends to preventive measures, encouraging programs that address behavioral challenges, early intervention, and education on legal consequences. The case underscores that crime affects more than just the immediate victim and perpetrator, it ripples through families, neighborhoods, and institutions. The legal system's responsibility to balance accountability, rehabilitation, and societal safety is critical in shaping outcomes and public trust. For viewers, this story serves as a reminder of the importance of vigilance, awareness, and engagement with justice. Subscribing ensures you remain informed about cases that challenge our understanding of law, ethics, and society. And if you're choosing not to subscribe, take a moment to comment why these lessons are being overlooked. It matters.